Hey, what's up, guys? It's your boy Rawad. Welcome to my first YouTube video where I decided to go back to an old trend called Draw My Life. I'm going to take you through a short summary of my life and how Habibi Squad came to be through my eyes. It all started in a small country in the Middle East called Lebanon. Both my father and my mother are 100% Lebanese, but my father wasn't what you call strict. In fact, he was more of a chill parent until he got mad. My mom, on the other hand, is sweet and loving, but she was extremely overprotective, and she set the rules. We were scared of her, but we also loved her. My dad was an engineer, and my mom was a pharmacist, and in 1999, well, they had me in Lebanon. I wasn't the only child. In fact, I was the youngest of 3 kids, with an older brother who's a nerdy genius who ended up becoming a doctor, and an older sister who was the family princess and a hard worker, but also ended up being a doctor. And then there was me, studying economics and finance, who also does YouTube. Yeah. Some might think I'm a disappointment, but I like to refer to myself as a visionary. Well, I lived a very Middle Eastern childhood, spending most of my times outdoor, biking around, playing soccer and Beyblades in Lebanon. That lasted till I was about 7 years old when my family decided to fly us out to start a new life in a far and cold country called Canada, specifically the land of the French, Montreal. Now, my dad was the only family member who spoke French, so clearly that did not really last that long. So obviously we ended up coming back to Lebanon a year after because my mom simply did not like Canada, and I don't really blame her. All right, now keep up with me here. We stayed in Lebanon for about maybe 2 years, and then we moved back to Canada. But this time we went to Ottawa, where we had family and we spoke English. When I landed, I got introduced to this new schooling system, which was a lot more complicated than back home. Instead of one school from kindergarten to grade 12, in Canada they have an elementary school which is from kindergarten to grade 6, a middle school which is grade 7 to 8, and a high school which is 9 to 12. At this point in my life, I'm in middle school and it was pretty hard to make friends. They were all friends since kindergarten and they didn't really take well to foreigners. So my solution was pretty simple. I just won't need anyone. So I spent most of my time in that time period of my life going from school to my house and doing nothing except running straight upstairs and immediately turning on my video games and playing all day long. I played a whole lot of different types of games like Minecraft, GTA, World of Warcraft. I played them on Xbox, PC, PlayStation, whatever you want. And it was just a lot easier making friends online, and people didn't really care who you are and how you look like. Now, in 2013, we came back to Lebanon for 1 year only, but it was a pretty terrible year because I kind of felt lost. I didn't know what country was my home and what country was a foreign land. I was kind of confused. I did like Canada better because they had better internet, but anyways, when I came back to Canada, I was really unimpressed because people were just a lot meaner in high school, and I was just bullied for being Arab, and all these stereotypes kept getting thrown in my face, and I didn't really know what the hell was going on. I just wanted friends. Now, at this point in my life, I'm kind of fed up making friends. We moved to Canada's largest city, which is Toronto, because my brother and my sister were both studying there. I had to make friends all over again, and I really kind of gave up. And you can't even blame me, because at this point, I've moved school to school, I think a total of 9 times between kindergarten and high school. So I was already giving up on making friends. I walk into this new high school in this new town, and I'm expecting not to make any friends. Now I walk into orientation and I see a bunch of guys sitting in a circle all kumbaya and talking, eating some pizza. So I decided, hey, this is my vibe. So I just pulled the chair and I sat down next to them. 2 guys instantly clicked with me and started talking to me, and it turns out, they're both Arab. One of them is Lebanese, just like me, and the third person was Jordanian. We hung out during lunch, so that actually filled up my time and it felt pretty cool. Now, fast forward to physics class, where obviously knowing me, I sit in the back of the room between 2 guys. You know those guys that are first to finish the exam and always do super well? Yeah, that's that guy. And he didn't let me cheat off of him, so I didn't really like him that much. Until one day we were doing some sort of an experiment with a slinky where we toss it down the stairs, and I accidentally broke the slinky. I was kind of panicking, and the guy that was next to me just kind of ratted me out almost right away. Walked up to the teacher and told him all about what I did. And the guy that didn't let me cheat off of him, I mean, he was pretty cool. He actually backed me up. So I kind of liked him after that. We started to always sit next to each other and talk to each other about all types of different things. And we kind of hit it off. And you know how Lebanese I am and everything like that. So obviously I was talking some smack about the other dude, constantly. And you might be wondering to yourself now, who is this guy right here that I'm vibing with so well? Well, based off of his height right there, you can tell that this man is Hossam the man. So yeah, he just started off as this guy I knew in physics class who just never let me cheat off of him, but I was still liked him. Now, another fast forward to another class that I had after that, which was co op. And there was just this lineup of tables. Knowing me, obviously, I come in, sit all the way in the back. And not even 2 seconds later, this guy just comes and sits right next to me. And guess what? He also turns out to be Arab. Now, me and him hit it off right away. I start talking about how I like cars, and he's talking about how he likes Mini Coopers. And we're just sitting there talking back and forth and having a good time. And not just any good time, like we had a blast sitting next to each other. You know that one friend that just doesn't stop laughing in class, gets you in trouble, teachers constantly yelling at you guys, telling you where I'm gonna move you if you keep talking. Now, based off the character himself, you guys probably already know who I'm talking about. And yes, you're not wrong. Based off of this drawing right here and the amount of absurd curls that I'm drawing on this man right here, it's no other than Biza himself. Now, another flash forward to a business computer class where I walked in, sit down, and then the teacher just moves me next to this Egyptian guy called Haz. Where at first, we didn't really get along because he didn't like me that much. But if you know anything about Haz, is that if he doesn't like you in the beginning, he likes you a lot later, which is something I'm still trying to convince him to talk to his therapist about. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit more about my personal life and it's going to tie in at the end. Now, when my mom and my dad moved to Toronto, they decided to open up a business together, and it was a car dealership. And little did I know that that car dealership is going to be one of the biggest things in my life. It taught me everything I know about cars, and I couldn't be more thankful to having that opportunity. They ended up separating and having two different car dealerships, which honestly didn't bother me that much because I kind of like driving around. Two dealerships meant that I can drive twice as much. I drove all types of different cars, anything you can possibly think of. I would take cars to the auction house with them, see how the whole process worked. I would be sitting in negotiation meetings with them. So everything you can think of about cars, I knew at that point in my life. I was convinced that at 17 years old, I think I had the most kilometers driven out of anybody my age. I was driving all over the country with my parents to get cars, and I loved it. And at this point in my life, I was living what my friends would call every 17-year-old teenage guy's dream, which is I had a lot of friends. We always hung out. I got to drive different cars every day, but they never really saw the hard work that went into helping my parents. But who cares? Because I was 17, I was the main driver of the group. I always drove them everywhere, and I kind of really liked it. And for the first time, and I think ever in my life, it felt right. It felt like I belonged, and we would hang out with each other 24/7. But all good things come to an end because after a certain point, even though we are really good friends and we still talk to this day, after everybody graduated, everybody had their own paths and career goals. So everybody kind of dispersed and did their own thing, especially when COVID hit and everybody had to go into isolation. We couldn't really see each other much. I just ended up sitting at home playing video games all day and night. And it kind of took me into a spiral until one day, after hanging out with the guys, me and Haz are in the car, and he just looks over to me and says, "Have you ever heard of Beta Squad?" Well, yeah, I'm thinking of creating the new Arab squad. Why not? We're a fun group. We always thought of making content. Why not actually take it seriously and become one of the first Arab groups in the world? The team would consist of 5 people: Haz, Hossam, me, Biza, and Biza's cousin, which is Omar, who we hung out with before, but we only became really good friends after Habibi Squad was created. This project really changed my life. We did things I never thought was possible, and through Habibi Squad, I was able to meet the love of my life and someone who's going to be a very important part of my future. Now, it's a long distance relationship, which is already hard, but we want to make content together, so I think we're going to stick with gaming and some other content like that. So now you might be wondering what's next for me specifically. Well, I have a lot of ideas for you guys. I'm going to be focused on YouTube and I'm going to have 2 channels. The first channel is going to be about cars, where I'll do some challenges, skits, and other fun content. The second channel is going to be revolved around gaming, lifestyle, and travel vlogs, which is going to be with my girlfriend who's long distance right now, but hopefully more in person content will be coming soon. So keep on watching, especially on Instagram, where I'm going to be announcing all of these things and when I'm going to be uploading videos. And I'll do some skits as well on Instagram. And YouTube is where I'm going to be doing most of the long form gaming content. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to turn on notifications. Bye.